going to a group. So now we want to present of the topic community language learning. Um, the first, what is the community language learning? Okay, firstly, community language learning is a language teaching method which involves psychological aspect and students work together to develop what skill of language they would like to learn. And the statement based on the Charles Arthur Curran and his association, which is called counseling learning theory. And within the language teaching traditions, community language learning is sometimes cited as an example of the humanistic approach. And the rules of the teacher is called counselor, and the learners are called client in the language classroom. And based on the statement of Carlon Arthur Curran, how the teacher and students work together to get the improving the skills of students. And then move slide characteristics of community language learning. And these students and teacher work together in a team for creating a supportive classroom community, which lowers anxiety for learners based on Brown and Lee statement. And the teacher support students in the theory manner and must understand and be sensitive to students' fear based on the Larson and Freeman. And language is for communication. So having conversations is important. And teacher must support students in whatever way is needed for them to feel confident and successful. And of the characteristic of communication language learning, how teacher and students work together to improving the skills of students. And the communication is important, how the teacher sharing about the material to get the skills of the students. And the conversations is to help the understand how about the learning and work together. And then to get the successful of the teacher and the students. And move to slides, the principles. The first, we talk about the make real communication the focus of language learning. How the communication is important to get the focus of language learning. And how the communication is important, how the teacher give the or sharing about the material to get the improving skills of the students. And then provide opportunities for learners to experiment and try out what they know. And this how the teaching give the experiment or try out what they want, what they skills improving, and how they want to get the improving skills of the students. And then provide opportunities for learners to develop both accuracy, and fluency. And then The communication is important, yeah, to develop both coherency and the fluency of the teacher and then of the students. And move the slide, and then mm, in learning language, the most fundamental concept is a psychology. According a statement of Marianne A. Barnes, individual instance of learning range all the way from the simplest change in behavior resulting from practice to the most complex of as in the category of the higher mental processing. And then learning is a basic and central component of the distinctive activities that constitute the subject matter of psychology. And learning, including retentions, on which depends, is at the heart of perceptions, thinking, imaginations, reasoning, judgments, attitude, personality traits, and system of values and the development of and the organizations of the activities that consisted the personality of the individual. This is a statement based on Maria A. Bench. And then move the slides. We talk about the rules of teacher and students. The first, the rules of teacher, and then the role of the teacher is to be facilitator of his students' learning. He is the manager of classroom activity, and how the teacher is a tutor or the manager in the classroom activity, how she or he get the or sharing about the material, sharing about the experiment to get the imaginations of the students. And he suggests that the language teachers need to assess learners by providing them with free word patterns, partners, and rules to develop their communication language skills. And then the rules of students. The role of students talk about how communication language learning become members of a community. Their fellows learners and together and teacher and learn through interacting with members of the community. And learning is not viewers individuals' accomplishment, but as something that is achievement collaborations. How the students and another people get the informations, give the informations to get the experiment, to get the experiments in another people. And then
Okay, here will I explain about the areas language and learning skills. There are listening, yeah, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening here when the people are learning a new language, they first hear in spoken, and speaking. Eventually, they try to repeat what they hear, and reading. Later, they see the spoken language depicted symbolically in printed and writing. Finally, they reproduce here. the symbols on the paper. Yeah. Then also the methods of communi communicating community. And here the advantage of uh, CLL, yeah, a community language learning, yeah, arose after a shift in thinking surrounding a more students-centered approach that put the focus on the learner, yeah, instead of the teacher. Current so students, yeah, as a community of learners and noted the importance of social interaction in a classroom. Our focus uh, was placed, yeah, on the importance of relationship building, uh, the desire to learn, yeah, physical reaction and students' feelings. Yeah. Works well with lower level students, yeah, who are struggling in uh, English, in spoken English. I mean, yeah, lower students anxiety, yeah, and overcome, yeah, treating uh, affective filter, yeah. It creates a warm sympathy and trusting relationship between teacher and students. Trained students, yeah, become independent. Counselor allowed to learn to determine types of conversation. Disadvantage, yeah, of CLL, yeah, some learners find it difficult to speak on tape. Yeah, here is focus on the how the method, yeah, yeah, used by CLL. So and here the point, the students are difficult, yeah, in implement or to record by on the tape. In order to students become independent, yeah. Teacher might neglect to need for guidance. Yeah. Teacher has to be highly proficient in target language, yeah, and in the language of students. It is time consuming to carry out. Translation is an interactive difficult task. And the conclusion here, community language learning is a good method for practicing communication. It's also a good method for beginners, yeah, who just first study their second language. Using this method can help beginner to reduce their anxiety, yeah, in the classroom. Most of the time, as students were anxious and never enjoyed learning English. Yeah. The teacher believes that punishments and pressures could help students learn more. There are a lot of reasons related to language assessment, such as students' personality, characters, yeah, learning style, education system, textbooks appropriateness, or educators' method. Even though anxiety is not the most important, yeah, reason for failure or success in learning language, we cannot ignore its affection. Methods consider the students to be whole person. Yeah. It is not only to think about students in intellect, but also their feelings in a learning language. Okay, that's all our materials about, yeah, community learning language, and thank you.